on you, Radical. I want to get back to this because, you can't talk about where I think COVID came through because Google, they know everything. So the FBI and the DO. Now, why would the Department of Energy? Now, seriously, this is on Casa Bravo Bikini Bomb Day. I mean, important. So who launched it? Why the Department of Energy? Talking about lab. Well, let's see. The biggest lab owners in the world, the Department of Energy. Livermore, bringing star power to Earth. Oh, they brought star power to Earth. Logo. Fukushima's going on 12 years. Oakridge, Tennessee. They recently had a fire at Y-12. What's that? Ask Megan Rice. Oh, Barack Obama put her in prison. She's passed since. Los Alamos. Who runs those? The Department of Energy. They're biggest labs in the world. I reckon. Remember the Ricken lab? Remember the Allies, what they did to it? No, it's reopened in Japan. Why them? Have a document leaked and it floods Main Street. Why not the CDC, not Human Health Services, not the EPA, not all these agencies. Why the Department of Energy? So you have two government conflicting reports now. The FBI says it came from a lab in China. Now the DOE, when the government, the CDC, says it jumped from the fish market from animal to human. Where do fish come from? Let's ignore the herd of, what's the elephant in the room? Now, what happened in 2011, 12 years ago? Shh, don't say the F word. So I think Google, I think everybody owes a lot of people a lot of apologies. Facebook, Twitter. Daily Motion took down my whole account for saying where I thought, using, talking about the mink and the common denominator of the mink asymmetric in, the mink mutually exclusive, Denmark, Oregon, right here in Morgan, Utah, Canada, all got COVID at the same time. What's the common denominator? We know what they use for workers there. They moving that quickly? I don't think so. Not in Denmark. Oh, they feed them dead ground up well. So, are these theories mutually exclusive of each other? Well, Livermore, California had come up with element 116, 117, and 118 post-Fukushima, bringing star power to Earth. I protested out there so many times. Kamala Harris's mom was the epidemiologist there. She tragically died of cancer in 2009. I've done so much work out there. At Oakridge, I protested so many times there at Y-12, Y-25. These are giant labs. Idaho National Labs refired up. They're refunding, Utah's refunding them some more for these fake little NuScale reactors. Where did it come from? Well, how can, when you slam any real scientist has had to go rogue, which Kevin Blanch had to go rogue. The university blackballed me, Nuclear U. I had to go rogue. YouTube's all we got. So we have conflicting hypothesis inside. Now, is there field work going on? Yeah. Have they got to a... No. Will they ever? Let's see, Spanish flu. Now, I was a young biologist, zoologist, student at Weber State. Had a famous Dr. Winterton. He would do this famous class on Spanish flu. That's who he taught us. He'd make us walk through the cemetery in Ogden, killed by the beast, and write down. People bring stuff in. It would blow your mind how many students brought stuff in from their parents, their grandparents here. It was shattering. It changed my life. He spent weeks on this. Where did it come from? Now, the nerve gases started. Nerve gas is against international law. So is nuclear weapons. That'll stop the U.S. and Russia, Israel, and the U.K. They still say they're going to have them. The UN's banned them like nerve gas. Biological weapon testing was going on in Europe. There were soldiers coming home to the UK, England then, with major respiratory illness, which a lot of people think that was Spanish. What would they call it? Spanish flu? Well, Spain was neutral. They're reporting this. The first case in Kansas, It used to be reported from animal to human, but a lot of people believe he was a soldier, came home from the trenches. Was it? I don't know, but we're 104, 105 years later, and we're still trying. We still don't know what is that? How COVID's going to be? I don't think so. The arc of truth. We're going to get to the bottom of this truth. And do I believe the DOE and the FBI and the CDC? I don't believe any of them. They've proven their track record over the last several years. The DOE, come on. The guys who marched my father in the Nevada test site, drafted Marine, and nuked him to death, they try to make a sequel out of me. I mean, it's patently proven what the DOE's done over the years, especially when it comes to nuclear. Bikini Atolls today, 69 years. So these conflicting reports inside our own government, yet we can't I hypothesize, where I think it came from. And if you don't believe that heavy nuclear fallout is Fukushima meltdowns, now am I saying I know that's what? No, I'm not saying I know what that is. It's a hypothesis. If we can't have hypotheses, how can we ever get in? First you hypothesize, then you do the field work, which I did on Fukushima, on the tide pools, on the salmon, on the Pacific Ocean. I've done all that work. I mean, while sick, I've done the work. I mean, I'm not a Radio Gaga YouTuber. So, all we hear, no. I'm an activist. I'm a scientist. I do the work. We need to be open to all hypotheses on this now, because the very government that shoved down our throat, and Google and everybody else slammed anybody for saying this came from a lab. Slammed anybody that now our own government's saying that, department, including the FBI. So who are we to believe? But yet we can't talk about this. We can't have an open dialogue about this as a sign. If we can't have an open dialogue on an open platform, we're fucked. They just slaughtered the First Amendment. But if we cannot have a logical, open dialogue on this, now you think about this. If this was unleashed, man-made, think about this. You're talking the greatest mass murder, premedicated case in human history. It just escaped from a... Think about the civil damages. I mean, you couldn't even put a number on that. The number would be trillions, multi-trillions. This would be the biggest. It really should be the looting on the PPP loans, the death, the repression. Everything that came out post. Yet we can't have an open dialogue about this. You know where I say it came from, but that's a hypothesis, and that's all it is my hypothesis. Now, the Fukushima disaster, that's a whole different. Well, is it? But hypothesis, these are full-blown out meltdowns. They're lying. It took Lake Parrot to Leslie Stahl in 60 Minutes, 3,000 days to tell you what Kevin Latch told you in the first hour. These are full-blown out meltdowns. I knew they were. All my work on Mach 1, Mach 2s, the spent fuel pools had cracked and blown to smithereens. I knew when I knew it was a 9. I knew the cores had been busted wide open and were eventually just going to blow up to smithereens because they have no cooling. They lost cooling immediately. And they just blow up. They melt down. And the cores have melted in. Leslie saw the Lake Barrett in 60 minutes. Well, this is like going to the moon. Way bigger than that. This has never happened before. Didn't happen to Santa Susana. What's that? Didn't happen at Idaho National Lab. Let's get some more little SMRs, fairy tales. Didn't even happen at Los Alamos. Didn't happen at Chernobyl. 700,000 men entombed a partially meltdown core. What happened to Fukushima? Well, where's those cores, Leslie Stahl, Lake Barrett? See those holes right over there? Pacific Ocean. Nuclear energy, terrible way to blow up. Albert Einstein. Remember, Albert Einstein was banned from the Manhattan Project. Remember, he was banned. Really. And he did not invent nuclear energy. No. Rutherford, Fermi. And Hitler never had it. Hitler was never close. The United States was in there on the bomb all those years, and their spies, and I always go back, the spy finally reported back to FDR. Baby never born, mother never pregnant. Albert Einstein did not write that letter. Leo did. And he begged Albert to sign that letter. Albert was a peace activist. Albert was anti-bomb. Albert was anti-nuclear energy. Hell of a way to boil water. He was banned and blocked from the Manhattan Project. And they found scumbag Teller later. Jeff Bezos' grandfather was the original propagandist from Los Alamos. Guys, Department of Energy was called the Department of Nuclear Risk. So why would it be the Department of Energy? And so I wanted to put this up and talk. If we cannot have an open dialogue, any real scientist has to go rogue. The universities have them blackballed. They have them captured. JSTOR, asking our source. Download the server and you get 35 years for downloading a server at MIT. What's on that server? They control the information, so you have to go rogue. You need a platform. Remember when Google, YouTube used to call themselves the great equalizers? The great repressors. But if we cannot have an open dialogue about where COVID come from, we're totally fucked. We're going to go 104 years and not solve this caper? No. We're going to solve it this time because we do have media platforms and there are scientists out there and they're going to go rogue. Even though government squashes it, university's going to squash their work. Everybody's going to go after it like they went after Kevin Blanch on my Fukushima work. What a feather in my cap to be attacked by the DOE. I marched my father into a freaking Nevada test site and put him in a cage. Nuke him to death. He dies in the prime of his life of acute blastic leukemia. They try to make a sequel out of me. I'm getting better. We're halfway. So why the DOE? So we have our own government with conflicting reports. Did it leak from the labs? What lab? Was it a lab in the U.S.? Was it Livermore? Was it a lab in China? Or was it the seafood? Now fish swim. Are they mutually exclusive of each other, these two theories? I don't think so. Were they messing around in one of these labs with what they found post the disaster? I don't know. But unless we can have an open dialogue, scientists that have gone rogue, which I've had to, and if you don't play back the tape, Your Honor, was I right about Fukushima on everything? Typos are going to wipe out trees. I was right about everything. First, hypothesized the knowledge. These are full-blown up meltdowns. They're going to circle the wagons. They're going to lie. They're going to lie. 12 years of lies. It's going to take out this starfish first. Then the salmon are going to go. The steelhead will go first. The Chinook will go on in 2016 because they go to sea fire. Did they? Yeah. Everything I said, the trees, yeah. As I named it Fructonium, you can laugh all they want. Livermorium, Tennesseeum, Einsteinium. Look up element 1, 16, 17, and 18 from Livermore. Post the disaster. Don't say the F word given. So the DOE of all people. We know what labs they own. What was it? Just look up. I want you to look up what the Department of Energy used to be called when it was in its inception, when it was in for a long time. Look at it. Why them? Why them? Our own government with conflicting. So, unless we can have an open dialogue as freelance scientists, that's who's going to solve this. And I can't even talk about my hypothesis and theory. I'd have nowhere to go because I'll get a strike. I'll get knocked down. Why? Why? Because Google knows everything. They know where it comes from. Well, that's not what the FBI says. That's not what the Department of Energy says. That's what. But do I think either one of these hypotheses are true? Personally, just my opinion, no. Well, partially, and I can get into that. I wish somebody sit down and interview. I need to get a book done. I've been fighting for my life again, open heart surgery for the second time. So anyway, the bikini, real sexy. Yeah, real sexy. Disgusting. 69 years ago today. That's how the bikini got named. For me on Trinity. I bet $1 that it kills everybody in New Mexico. They did it anyway. What did they do to Oppenheimer? He's a commie. All the anti-nukers. What did they do to Einstein? Einstein was all that. I'm a huge fan of his. The peace activist, the anti-bomb, what did they do to him? Well, he was banned from the Manhattan Project. It's the most evil, disgusting thing ever perforated on the American public. It's disgusting. It's horrible. It's a nightmare. It just keeps. They opened the spigot on the Manhattan because Einstein wrote the letter. Said it was the biggest regret of his life. Leo wrote that letter. They opened the spigot, and they never shut it off. Manhattan, thus Kevin Blanch, the Post-Ignorance Project, asymmetric. So, March, 12 years of nuclear lies, and cover-up high crimes. That's all Fukushima's been. And everybody runs from it, hides. COVID. Can we have an open dialogue now? I mean, answer me this. I would like to know this. Can we have an open dialogue of where this came from in a logical, reasonable way with the FBI, with the Department of Energy, with the CDC, with international agencies that are not just hell-bent on profiting from this and, forcing a narrative down our throat? Do I think either of these narratives are true? No. You know where I think it came from. We're going to ignore all this and chalk it up to coincidence. I'm not. Albert Einstein. Nuclear fallout, every nuclear fallout, the genie gets out of the bottle, will cause mutations and mutate every piece of DNA. It will cause all kinds of problems. Will humans adapt? Yes, in 50 generations. So we can ignore, but again, hypothesis. We should have this open to all hypotheses now, because this is our own government. The United States has conflicting viewpoints right out of the same government. So we need to open up this dialogue. We need to have it in a logical way. And as crazy as anybody thinks any hypothesis, it should be on the table. And, and then we'll get to work. Don't let this go down like Spanish flu. I heard him say, Fucci said the other day, that we probably never will know. Bullshit. We're going to get to the bottom on this one. I reckon. The bikini, real sexy. 69 years ago today, that hell. Stand tuned.